All right, just give me one moment to sort out some technical difficulties. All right, so good evening, everybody. My name is Amelia Whalen. I am the Wellness Coordinator at Las Lomas High School. Thank you so much for being here with us for the second installment of the Acalanes Union High School District Parent Education Series. Tonight we have Martin Reese from Counseling Options, for Counseling Opportunities in Parent Education, COPE. He will be presenting on recognizing depression, anxiety, and stress in yourself and your child. Next Wednesday, we will be having another presentation called The Power of Parents, Navigating Substance Abuse and the Fentanyl Epidemic with Your Teen. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Reese. Thank you all again for being here this evening. And thank you, Mr. Reese. Go ahead and let you get started.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to, I pulled some different things together because I was told that tonight we would be talking about connecting with your teen. So I will need a minute as we work on, if you don't mind, I mean, I need to be reminded of what the subject is that you just mentioned for me.
Oh, it was recognizing anxiety and depression in yourself and in your teen. But whatever information you can provide to us would be fantastic.
Okay, because I had not prepared for that because that wasn't the subject that I was told I would be working on. So I would need a minute so I can pull all of that information up. Part of what, let's do this. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time for this. I am going to share what I do have prepared so that we can cover this. Okay? That's all right with everyone. So initially, the idea was that we would talk about connecting with our teens. And in this discussion, we can easily cover some of the things that teens do face as far as anxiety and depression that may keep them from connecting with us on a regular daily basis. So one of the things, let me introduce myself. My name is Martin Reese. I am not Angel Reese, but I do know her. And I have been working with COPE for about 3 years. I do other seminars, parenting classes, as well as supporting father involvement classes. This is my first opportunity to be able to work with the Acalanes, and so it is quite a pleasure for me to be here with you all this evening. What we will be looking at is connecting with your teen, what you might be seeing, right? So if you are seeing that anxiety, depression, and things like that, we'll get a chance to kind of talk about what that looks like or might sound like in some of the things that you can possibly do. Things to keep in mind, what some of the research is saying. And the CDC provides a lot of information. So if you don't have it, please feel free to go on the CDC's website. They do keep track on some of the statistics and things of that nature that can help you. Depression has grown tremendously throughout the country, but as well as in the state of California. It has led to a higher opioid epidemic crisis, if you're not familiar with that. I do know some of the numbers on that from the CDC are about 6,000 overdose cases for children between the ages of 10 and 17. Suicide for children 12 to 17 is on the rise. And it has to do with a lot of different things, right? So we'll get a chance to discuss some of those. as we go on tonight. Knowing what your child needs is a big deal, right? Every child needs something a little different. One child may be struggling socially, and they're going through that moment of social awkwardness. There are things in the 21st century that we aren't always familiar with, and one of those things is the importance of social media and the role that it plays. Oftentimes, our teenagers feel like their whole life is wrapped up in social media. I have on occasion shared with some families that there are children, they don't even communicate with their friends at lunchtime except via a social media app. And some of the young people express that they can be sitting in the same room and they will send a text to each other or post a meme or something like that to kind of express how they're feeling, even though they may be in the same room. It is communicated differently. So, loss of those communication privileges or friends or followers, right, becomes real important in their lives. They can feel isolated because they aren't getting those clicks or those likes. The number of people that they are socially engaged with becomes important in their physical life as well as their digital life. Relationships look and sound different. So when your child is spending time with you, it may seem obtrusive or as if somehow you're a third wheel, that you don't fit in. They don't communicate as openly as you may want them to, but they are working on gaining their independence. And oftentimes, depending on how we have spent some time in building that personal relationship, will determine on the words that they use or don't use or how they express love. All right, so what you might be seeing normal teen behavior. Let's talk about normal teen behavior. It is normal for a teen to ignore you. It is normal for a teen to want to be independent, be around their friends, change the way they dress. You've been dressing them for a while. Because you've been doing it doesn't mean they necessarily like it. So you want to make sure that uh, you don't start feeling like something is going on with your child because they no longer want to dress the way you have determined, right? You may like for them to dress neat and conservative, and they want to wear all black and black makeup and fingernails and things of that nature. It's normal for them to start experimenting according to their social environment and how they want to express themselves freely. They'll question rules and authority, right? You'll set up a curfew, they won't want to participate. I always want to encourage parents when dealing with teenagers that you make sure to develop a contract with them, right? So once they reach an age where they really want to be independent, and I would say start with junior high school, because they'll have dances. They're going to be invited to some social events outside of school. They may even participate in sporting activities. But instead of needing a ride from you, they may want to ride with a friend. So you want to start sitting down and working out what life looks like for you and them, how we are going to communicate. They have apps for it. There are strategic plans where you can design a plan that says, great, if you're going to be doing this on Monday or you're not coming home from school, you need to notify me. Send me a text or give me a call. Let me know where you're going to be. The earlier you can set those limits and boundaries up, the better things will be. when a child begins to test those, you want to have some logical consequences in place so that if they fail to call or they fail to meet a timeline, right, they have already agreed ahead of time of what the consequence is for failure to comply. So you want to make sure you set those things up. Um, Keep in mind they can be impulsive, right? I don't know how many of you, I was an impulsive teen. I can remember. I had plenty of times when I should have came straight home after football practice, but didn't, and my mother would have a fit. There were plenty of times when I told my mother I was going to the park and wound up at a park. I grew up in Daly City, but I could wind up at a park in San Francisco because I had a bicycle, and it allowed me to travel different places. So, at being that type of kid, a spontaneous kid, I can relate to the fact that sometimes impulses happen. Right? You see somebody you haven't seen for a long time, you want to hang out. We don't really track time. We just kind of do, right? And that leads into that immature decision making. I thought it would be okay. I thought it was okay to just go over here. We weren't doing anything. We were hanging out. Some older kids came around. This happened, that happened, right? I got caught up in the traffic of all of those things going on. And our children can't always tell us that, right? And children who are influenced by others, I want to be with the popular kids, right, are more likely to be influenced to get into other things such as smoking, drugs, alcohol, and to experience depression when they can't participate because they may not be old enough or they're confined to school and family rules as laid out by you or others in the house. So it can cause some problems. I think it's also important for me to mention as we go through this that because a child experiences a moment of depression or anxiety, right? They're uncomfortable. They're not happy at the moment. Um, that it's a long term thing. So, depression, you want to make sure and get it diagnosed. It should be long term, right? It should not be something that just is happening for the moment. Yep, I'm unhappy because I broke up with this girl or this guy. We don't want to tell them to just get over it. We want to allow that process to kind of happen organically, but be there for them if they need us to help them through it, right? And we can do helpful things like, is there anything I can do? Can I help you with that? I see you're feeling, kind of bad, right? Um, would you like to talk about it? You don't have to. If you want to just talk to me, I will listen. I don't. I know you may not want any type of uh, feedback from me, but if you want to talk to me, please feel free to do that. When we talk about that emotional support, it's okay for them to cry, to be upset, and for their feelings to be hurt. It is not okay for us to feel like, oh, yeah, you're 14, you'll get over it. There'll be a million of them in your life. It's just the wrong stand to take. We need to support them in their feelings. We need to acknowledge them in their feelings and where they are. Education can be tough. Children uh, may feel that they are a disappointment if they don't achieve a certain GPA or are struggling. Some children have known to drop out because of this struggle. They don't get a tutor. Mom and dad may not necessarily be positively supporting them. And I'll share what I mean with that in a minute. Um, but we uh, we just aren't always there when the child is struggling academically. And what I mean is sometimes a child's not performing well, and we may offer a tutor. We may offer to give them some assistance versus asking them what they need, right? Versus saying, it looks to me like you're doing pretty good, right? What area do you think you could improve upon? Because once they begin to recognize that, oh, I'm doing good in this, right? The problem is I'm having some problems getting the homework in, or I keep losing it. So, would you like to try an additional binder or a folder to help keep it in until you get the homework turned in, so it gets turned in on time? If it's done through the computer, which a lot of them do now, they get some homework done, they get to turn it in paperlessly. Do you need a reminder? Right? What type of tools do you think we can help so you can make some of those improvements? Um, Teacher said I didn't get enough citations. Great. Let's learn how to do a little bit of research. Let me share with you how to do some research. Right? Then there are the personal issues. I'm fat, right? Uh, oh, I got pimples. This group doesn't like me. That group doesn't like me. And so we want to do our best to reassure them that they are wonderfully and beautifully made, right? That also things change over time, right? Um, but we want to make sure that we give them the support. If you need your hair done, let's get the hair done, right? Let's get some acne cream. Let's do some things to work on this. I'm on your side. What do you want to do, right? How do you want to express you? If your son comes home and he wants to get his fingernails painted, let him paint his fingernails, right? I know a lot of times understanding and processing the changes of the 21st century as to how we may have grown up viewing it can be a struggle. But freedom of expression is just that. It is an expression of this is me, this is my identity, right? But how I express myself has nothing to do with my intelligence, has nothing to do with whether I'm a kind person or an unkind person, right? All of those things are personality traits. Let me express myself freely, but also accept me for who I am. Accept my kindness, not because of I look a certain way or because I make a certain grade or I talk a certain way. Just kind of accept me for who I am. And those things become important to our children because in their life at school, that's how they are. And we're going to talk about that because a lot of times um, we don't understand that school is a second home. So when we look at things to keep in mind, right, their daily activities, many of their daily activities, Monday through Friday, except for those who have extracurricular activities, is done at school. All of their friends, their homework, their time, their lunch, any breaks they get are done at the school with people that they have either built relationships with or are trying to build relationships with, right? If they don't get a chance, because I was active as a child, a lot of times practice ran into dinner time. So once I got a little older, I could no longer sit at the dinner table with my family. And I grew up that way. So it was an adjustment in the beginning because I would often lose focus in practice. And the coach, like, what's wrong with you? Get your head into practice. Like, well, I'm supposed to be at home eating dinner. And when I get home, I got to try to warm my food up. And my food is just sitting on the plate wrapped up. I don't really get to talk with my family and socialize or any of those things with my family. And so I had to kind of learn uh, to do some of those things with my teammates. And it oftentimes during double sessions, because I played football, led into lunchtime and uh, after practice and after game time where we just kind of hung out, ate pizza or whatever. So missed a lot of family meals as I started growing, just because life kind of took me in that direction, not because I was trying to avoid my family, right? Which is same thing some of your children may do. Um, Sharing ordinary time. If you guys haven't had a chance, I know 2020 seemed like it took a lot of toll on us, and some people are still getting over the mental health stress of that situation and trying to find a new normal and deal with losses from that time. But I want to encourage you as you uh, think of your family, think of doing a road trip, right? Just taking a road trip. My family always got a chance every year to take a road trip. My parents are from the South, Mississippi and Alabama. And so every year we spent time down south, but we always drove. So it meant we got a chance to spend time in a small hot car, huddled up together, eating along the way, enjoying some of the sights, playing games, singing songs, all the type of things that give you a chance to bond as a family. So I want to encourage you to do some of those things to say, hey, can we just like get rid of the electronic devices and go for a hike over in Muir Woods and pack a lunch or go to the beach and same thing, pack a lunch, whatever you guys want, we'll pick it up, we'll lay it out, and we'll just relax, chill. So you want to try and share some of that little regular time together. Get involved, be involved, stay involved. Involvement looks a lot different today. I think parents are more in tune. When I was growing up as a child, my parents were working. They didn't have a chance to really get involved in my life other than to ask me how my day was, what did I do, and then it was on to some of the other things. But they never attended any of my games. Not when I ran track, not baseball, football, none of those things. They didn't get a chance to participate in those because of the timing. Um, so getting involved is a little different now. There are tools that can help us, right? We can't always be everywhere at one time, especially if we have multiple children. But there are apps where the kids can put what their schedule is, and you can make a plan. So somebody may have a afternoon game, and you can go to that game and say, "Hey, do you want to ride with me over to your brother's game and watch him play?" And you do. You grab them and you go over and you see the brother's game. And you say, "Hey, you guys, your sister's about to play, or she's in the middle of her activity, and you want to go over there with me." And everybody goes over, and you get a chance to participate in everyone's activity. Sometimes that's not possible, right? You have to kind of spread some of that love out, okay? And you can schedule it because you can say, "Hey, I'll make your recital this Saturday, but next Saturday I'm going to be at your brother's game or your sister's game, or we're going to be doing this together." Genuine interest in what they're doing. And I know most parents are, right? Sometimes our kids get involved in things that we don't necessarily agree with. My mother did not agree with me playing football, uh, not at all. But she did not hold me back, and she was supportive. She watched my uniforms, right? She always told me to be safe. My mother was great. She would give me a kiss before games if she was around, especially when I was younger. Um, So it was nice. Um, Limits and boundaries. Uh, I can't express enough how important these are. Limits and boundaries are the things that say, I love you more than you will ever know. I love you more than you will ever know, right? Um, and sometimes we don't always express that in a way that makes logical sense for a kid, right? Because they're like, I know you love me, I'm here, but I got to go do this. Yeah, I know, I hear you, right? Um, but I want you to know that I want you home at an hour that I think is reasonable because after midnight, things can really be bad. And in today's society, we can point to shootings that have happened locally, right? We can point to young girls who have been picked up for trafficking. There's so many things. And sometimes we just need to be honest, right? Just honest, open, honest, to the point, not with the idea of spreading fear, but just saying, look, here's what I need. I need you to let me know that you are safe. How can we do that? What does that look like? Right? So set those limits, set those boundaries for your children. And sometimes it requires us to live a similar lifestyle, right? I personally chose to share with my children my location and things like that so that they didn't feel like them sharing their location with me was one-sided. And my children are all grown, 33, 32, and 28. So they're all grown, and they still share with me their locations, and they let me know what's going on as I do with them so that they aren't the last ones to get any type of news, right? Um, and then just have some realistic expectations, right? A 10-year-old and a 17-year-old aren't going to have the same rules. They aren't doing the same thing. Likewise, a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old aren't the same, right? And your 5-year-old and your 3-year-old, not the same child. Don't have the same limitations on them, aren't in the same place in their life. Um, so you want to make sure that you're able to cater and prepare and set up for them accordingly, right? And if you feel like you're struggling with a realistic expectation, ask yourself the question: is this realistic? Is there a real probability of something happening if I let them go over to a friend's house? If I drop them off at a birthday party, is there a real possibility something's going to happen? Or am I just trying to be a helicopter parent and don't know what to do? Right? Do I really want to hover? No. Maybe I want to let them gain some independence. I love you. Have fun at the party. I'll be back for you around this time, right? And you can say to the parent that's in charge, if he gets ready to leave early, just give me a call. I'll come back because it will allow them to be independent according to their plan as well as yours. In the realm of anxiety, a child is you should be talked to, right? You want to make sure that they don't mind being left, right? Because separation anxiety can be challenging for a child. So don't just drop them off, right? Make sure that they're okay with it. Do you want me to drop you off or you want me to hang out? If you give them control, then what will happen is they will become better at solving some of their problems once they recognize that they didn't really need you there, right? That security blanket is, oh, I really didn't need mom or dad here. right? I can do this. So the next time the question is posed, they'll say, no, you can go ahead and go. I'll be okay, right? Because they know what to do. You can always set up rules for that. If this goes wrong, then do this. Keep the instructions simple, right? Not real complicated. You don't want to say, hey, if this goes wrong, call me or dad at these numbers. You want to be one or the other. Call me or call dad, right? Just tell us to come and get you. We'll come and get you, right? The expectation may be that when you get there, everything is fine. They're feeling better. But you want to make sure that you can relieve some of the anxiety or stress that they may have by reassuring them that you are there for them. Okay? Communication, conflict resolution becomes really important, especially when dealing with anxiety, um, depression, and possibly other disorders. So many of you may have children who have been diagnosed with additional um, issues. And so, how you communicate with them, how you help them resolve issues is going to look different. So, you want to make sure that you're able to make good, clear communications and that they understand. And that should be done by making eye contact with them. If you feel excited, take a deep breath so that you can be nice and calm. If they're excited, get them to do the same thing. Look them in the eye and say, take a deep breath with me. Blow it out. Good, good, good. And as you see them start to calm down, now you can ask them, what happened? In a nice, calm voice, right? You want to acknowledge that I see you're upset, okay? Is it something I did? Something I said, right? Is there anything I can help you with? Okay. Do you want to continue to do this or do you want to leave? It's okay if you want to leave. You want them to get comfortable with being able to talk to you, right? Um, if they've just got into an argument with somebody, don't always solve children's arguments. Provide them with the tools to be able to solve their own. Set some rules. Here are the rules, you guys. One person's going to talk at a time, okay? I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to calm down. We're going to talk nicely to each other, okay? But you're going to tell me what happened. And we're each going to take our turn. So, Mary, tell me what happened. John, I need you to calm down. Wait till Mary is finished, right? We're going to share. We're going to take our turn. So, Mary's talking right now, okay? When Mary gets done, you want to say, John, did you hear what Mary said? Tell me what you heard Mary say, right? Because it gives John a chance to actively listen. He has his part he wants to say, but you want to give him a chance to actively listen. If he can't repeat it, ask Mary again to share her side of the story. Then ask John again if he heard, because now he's going to say, oh, she's going to ask me again. Okay, so I better listen, right? So now you can say, great, John, I'm glad that you understood what Mary was saying. So, John, now tell me what your side of the story is, right? And if Mary starts to talk, you have to say, Mary, now John gave you a chance, right? You had your turn. It's now John's turn. And you'll be surprised when you take your time as they calm down, they will resolve the problem themselves. Most children are pretty resilient when it comes to that, but it will help them in their problem solving if you can help to get them to lower their own stress and anxiety and trying to get their story across, right? Wanting to be right, have everybody see you got to understand the injustice that was done to me, right? Share with me. Let's take our time. Let's talk about this, right? Um, when it comes to visions, goals, and dreams, right? It is really important that we are able to allow our children to tell us what their dreams are. I wish I could tell you the number of parents who are like, "Yeah, my kid's going to play professional ball." It's like, wow, that's exciting, right? But there's a process that it takes to really go through that. I just had a dad that's struggling because his son's not understanding he has to be academically sound to go through the process, high school, college to the pros. And so there is another route, which is a free agency route. But the reason you want to go the traditional educational route is because you get an opportunity to be prepared mentally for each stage and level. So sometimes we need to be able to help our children to understand and to see that, right? So we want to know what their vision is, what their goals are, and we want to talk to them about planning those steps to get there. Well, that's great, right? You want to go to this college. So what do we need to get you there? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Let's find out together, right? This is our journey. Let's find out together, right? Somebody may say, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to do that. Well, what do you want to do? I don't know. Okay, well, let's look at some things. There's some options, right? If your child has a talent, right, you don't have to necessarily be in a band to write music. You can write music. There are plenty of songwriters out there. You don't have to perform in front of an audience or any of those things. So maybe they want to be a songwriter, right? Maybe they want to be a writer and they already have some poems or some books and things like that. So now let's focus on those skills, those talents. How do we improve them? Have you thought about being a writer? Have you thought about being a ghostwriter? Right? Understanding that there are options out there to help them with their visions and their dreams. Um, Feel free to talk to them about their development, right? Um, Children go through some of the most awkward moments, right? And I'm hoping that there are some of you who can recognize that those moments are real. I'm hoping some of you have gone through them where puberty has either hit early or it comes late, where you have a crush on somebody who doesn't know you exist, where you want to participate in an activity but don't feel like you're just good enough, right? You want to be one of the popular kids, but your parents, my parents did not care about popularity whatsoever, right? And so even though there were people who liked me and places I wanted to hang out with, I didn't have tennis shoes to run around and play in. My father got me work boots. It's what I had to wear. Um, there was no going out and just getting some of the popular clothes that people were wearing. I got mine handed down to me. But I learned how to work through my social awkwardness of those situations just because I began to accept, well, I'm me, right? If they don't like it, that's fine. I don't. I'll make some other friends. Subsequently, I have friends from all walks of life and all types of backgrounds because I found a way to fit in with different people. Identifying and reduce risk. Um, Most of us as young people, we don't really know how to do it. We know some of the things that make people unhappy if we do it, right? Um, but it's hard to identify some risk, right? Most athletes are risk takers. They know it because at any time, broken leg, arm, pulled muscle, right, a sprain, something is gonna happen. And if they do BMX, um, it's the same thing plus possible loss of skin, concussions, all of those type of things happen. So there's some risk, and we don't always identify the risk as a problem. The risk is something we need to do. Um, if you've ever watched some of the X sports and things like that, or you have a child that's on a skateboard and they're jumping as high as cars and riding down rails, down stairwells, and things like that, then you know that somewhere along the line they have completely forgot about the risk factors. Um, and then uh, family meetings. So when we look at some of the strategies that can help your kids out, especially with stress and anxiety, letting them know they're not alone, but not just that, setting up a place where they can talk about it freely, free from no judgment, right? Nope, you don't have to get over it. Yep, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be unhappy. It's okay to be sad, right? It's okay to have those feelings. Is there anything I can do? Anything your brother can do, right? Sometimes it's just a matter of not doing anything, right? No, I just want to be left alone. Okay. And I know sometimes that's the hardest thing to do because we feel like we need to do something to make them happy, to alleviate the stress. But sometimes the more we try, the more stress we add, right? When they're depressed, we have to sometimes have a real conversation. We have to have that scary conversation because we want to know if depression is at a point where it may lead them to self harm or suicide. So we have to ask those questions outright and point blank, right? Do you feel like hurting yourself? Yes or no? If they say yes, okay, so tell me more, right? How do you imagine hurting yourself, right? What would you like me to do that may help you to move beyond that feeling, right? If you say to them, do you feel like killing yourself? And they say, sometimes I do. Okay. When have you thought about it? What was going on when you thought about it? How many times have you thought about it? Would you like for us to get someone professional for you to talk to about it? Right? Always seek professional help, but you also want to ask them because the last thing you want is for them to feel like you're not on their side. I'm on your side. I'm not the one that can help you. You just told me that. Can I get you someone who can help you? Because I love you and I just want you to not feel this way. Oh, I'll get over it tomorrow. Okay. And then check back with them tomorrow. How are you feeling today? Right? Do you feel like hurting yourself, committing suicide? Do you feel like killing yourself? Ask those questions. Then make sure that you remove anything if they do, right? To ensure that they don't get up throughout the night or anything else and harm themselves in any type of way, right? But we want to reassure them. Um, I like the idea of brainstorming because I don't think as a family we do enough of that, right? Brainstorming. Mom and dad don't always have to be the ones to have a conversation. Sometimes older siblings are the ones because there's a different kind of bond, right? because an 18-year-old who's in school, that's a senior, that's in school with a student that's a sophomore, they'll have some things they can talk about, right? Some of those challenges and things that they can do to get over it. And, you know, who can I talk to? Oh, you should talk to this person, right? Oh, you know what? I met this counselor. Go talk to this counselor tomorrow at lunch. Set up a meeting with them to talk with them after school, right? So sometimes siblings are better people to help other uh, children with some of the things they're going on. And the way we can get involved is if we know that that child has some influences by saying, hey, do me a favor, talk to your brother, right? Talk to your sister. It looks like they're going through something. They may say, yeah, they are, but okay. So you guys talked about it? Yeah, great. Thank you. I love how you look out for your brother, your sister, right? Thank you. If you need anything from me, let me know. Um, so you want to do that. You want to be creative with your home, right? What works for you, right? This talks about a jar. It might not be a jar. Um, it might be something else. It might be a game that you choose you want to play, right? When you have that family meeting, you set up a family. Oh, we're gonna have a family meeting, or we have game night, right? And game night might be never have I ever, right? And so now, never have I ever leads to a conversation. Oh, tell me more about what happened. And remember, it's non judgmental. So you want to make sure to get your face all fixed. You want to make sure to get your tone right. You want to be sure that you don't give away any type of disappointment or being upset over what they say or any of those things. You want to be able to provide solid support, right, and encouragement for possible change, right? If your child comes to you and says, you know, I've been doing drugs and I don't know what to do, okay. Well, thank you for coming to me, right? What would you like me to do? What are your thoughts, right? If they don't know, you start saying, hey, so what makes you want to do drugs, right? And they may say, well, you know, I hang out with these guys. Okay. So is it influenced by peers, right? They're older, they're cool. And so you started doing it, but you really don't feel good about it. Then the question comes, so what happens if you tell them you don't want to do it? Because sometimes kids don't know they can say no and still be socially accepted, right? They don't always know that it's okay, right, to really just be you. That the people really do, they like you. They have things they like to do. And like you like to be around them while they're doing whatever it is they do, they may be the same way with you. But you have a choice. You can say, well, you know what, I don't want to do this, so I'm gonna leave. But you want them to know that you have that choice. I'm gonna support you. I don't want you to do drugs. Seems like to me you don't want to do drugs. So we're in this together. Tell me what you need. I'm going to help you out. If you're with them and you feel like you need a ride, call me. I'll come and get you. Or send me a text and I'll call you like, hey, I need you to come home right now. Whatever it takes to help you to get out of that environment and do a little bit better, I'm willing to do. All right. So what research says. So we're talking about instability, caregiving, support, are really important, right? Teens need to be supported in their actions and activities in their development of who they are trying to become and want to become. Sometimes our pockets don't meet their demands. We need to teach them how to be financially responsible, right? It's great. You want this, you know, money doesn't grow on trees, but uh, why don't you come into the office with me? I got some work you can do. Or here's a lawnmower, go out, cut some grass, or water some cars, right? How would you like to get set up for a little small business where you can set up on Saturdays at the local flea market and, sell some items and get some money and build a savings up, right? We want to help them to be able to structure their life to obtain some of the things that they may want to do and to develop who they are. Um, and it will help us to make a connection with them at a different level. Uh, get to know your children is really important. It's like getting to know each other, right? We didn't get a chance. I could tell you about what I do with Cope, but to really get to know me, we kind of have to hang out at maybe a Warriors game, right? Or watching a football game, right? Saturdays, my college football day. It's all day type of thing for me. So if you're around, you'd be like, oh my God, Martin is anything but calm while watching football. And he's constantly snacking, right? Uh, and he's watching the plays, and every now and again he jumps up out of his seat and talks to the TV like the TV can hear him, right? But it gives you a chance to get to know your kids. And sometimes when we participate, that's what we're doing. It's like being a silent watcher, non-judgmental, just being there, letting them do their things, not always commenting, oh, how cute and stuff like that, right? Even though we want to not say those things so that they feel comfortable being themselves, right? Um, when they want to do it. My son loves pizza 24/7. He's 32 years old, and he could just eat pizza all the time. But it's accepting that. My youngest, she's the chef. She's like me. She likes to cook. She's a real foodie. The oldest one, she's just getting there. She's a combination of, yeah, I don't mind eating out. She really prefers that, to eat out, have somebody prepare her food and bring it or whatever. But you need to learn those things about your children. Um, the sex conversation, I have to tell you, as I stop sharing this, conversations about things like sex and other personal things is a personal choice. I will say that, like many of us, when we were in school, we we had those conversations. I had those conversations with my peers before I ever had a conversation either in a classroom or by the time my parents got around to talking to me about the birds and the bees and girls and all those other things. I had already had that conversation on the playground. And so now, I'd like to know if there's any questions, comments, thoughts. Okay. I don't see anything. You can, there's a questions and answer bubble. You can raise your hand.
All
Okay.
right. Well, oh,
Oh, look at that.
oh,
Okay,
great.
so
So
my,
thanks. Oh, you can read it. I'm sorry, Mr. Reese.
yeah, it's okay. Thanks so much for your overview of best practices of communicating with our teams. You're welcome. You are welcome.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Reese. That was fantastic. We really appreciate your time. Yeah, and I guess if anyone has any questions moving forward, feel free to contact us at the Wellness Center. But take good care and have a good night. Next Wednesday, we will have another parent education series presentation called The Power of Parents Navigating Substance Use and the Fentanyl Epidemic with Your Team. Uh, Thank you so much again, Mr. Reese, and everybody have a good evening.
You do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.